very good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We welcome all our faculty members and our students. Much awaited session on mental health. Extend our heartfelt gratitude to the alums also who took out their invaluable time for the session. It's a delight to host all of you today. The Vinod Gupta School of Management, IIT Kharagpur, is pleased to host a session with Good Lives, which is an initiative of our prestigious alums to start conversations about various mental health problems and create awareness. Stress has become a big part of our lives, and most of us have forgotten to live without it. So, keeping this in mind, the session is aimed at the subject of how to cope up with stress in day to day life. We would also like to welcome our esteemed speaker for today, Ms. Ariba Abbasi, a mental health professional with years of experience and expertise in dealing with people with various psychological issues such as mood disorders and anxiety disorders. She focuses on cognitive problem solving and social skills training. She also encourages people to accept themselves as they are and channelize their energy to focus on their life goals. Without any further delay, I would like to invite our guest to address the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So I am Ariba Basi, and I'm a mental health advocate. I've been working in the field of mental health for the last few years, and I'm your speaker for today's webinar on increasing productivity and dealing with stress at home. Okay, so I've also collaborated with Good Lives a few while back, which is a platform making sure that therapy and mental health services becomes more accessible and more affordable to all. And we've been collaborating for a while now and working on the same. Okay, so we'll be gaining deeper understanding and wider perspective on how to deal with stress and learning techniques to manage stress and anxiety at your own. So before we proceed with our presentation, let me ask you certain questions regarding mental health. Okay, so first question, how many people experience mental health problems in the past year? Anyone who has any idea about it?
The participants can post their answers in the chat box.
Yeah.
You can also unmute yourself if you wish to interact.
Let's make this session more interactive.
Ma'am, the students are posting their answers in the chat box.
Wait, I'll just see. Okay, so most of you actually answered it right. The correct answer is A, 1 in 5 people. So 1 in every 5 people has experienced mental health problem in the past year. Okay, next question. What percent of employees admit that their workplace stress affect their personal relationship? A, 50%, B, 20%, C, 60%, and D, 80%. I'm getting the answers. Okay, again, most of you have answered it correctly. 80%. Yeah. Okay, next question. Depression is more prevalent than A, AIDS, B, cancer, C, diabetes. Okay, so yeah, it's actually more prevalent than all of these combined. So your answers are pretty much correct. Okay, so before we proceed further, let's understand what stress actually is. So stress is actually a normal physiological response of your body. So whenever we feel threatened, whenever we feel challenged, our body reacts in order to protect us. And the reaction and the response that we get is actually called stress. And we've all been facing a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of other intense emotions and feelings for the past few months because of these uncertain circumstances. It has become very difficult to deal with stress, to deal with loneliness, to deal with these new schedules on our own because these circumstances actually disrupted our daily schedule, daily life. It has become difficult to go out. It has become difficult to communicate with other, which is becoming a lot of difficult for us, and it is actually taking a toll on our mental health. Okay, so we were talking about stress. So the stress is the body's way of protecting you. So when it works properly, it will help you stay focused. It will help you stay energetic and alert as well. And in emergency situations, stress can even save your life. For example, being able to run faster when someone is chasing us is an example of how stress can actually save our life. Now let's talk about the symptoms of stress. So there are different symptoms of stress, such as physical symptoms of stress includes fatigue, headaches, constant irritation, frequent infections, not being able to breathe properly. These are some of the physical symptoms of stress. Now, psychological symptoms of stress includes worrying, negativity, not being able to take decisions, impaired judgment, feeling irritated, agitation, pessimistic thinking. These are some of the psychological symptoms of stress. Now, the emotional symptoms of stress includes loss of confidence, hopelessness, feelings of helplessness, feeling sad, loneliness, insomnia, etc. And behavioral symptoms of stress include substance abuse, loss of appetite, restlessness, loneliness, insomnia, taking risky behaviors, etc. So if you feel that any of the above symptoms, whether psychological, whether physical, whether behavioral, are present, then you should seek immediate help. You should do something about it and try to incorporate techniques that we'll be talking about in your day-to-day life. Any questions regarding the symptoms of stress? If you want me to clarify further, I will. No questions. Now, there are different types of stressors or factors which, so for example, physical environment, such as bright lights, intense noises, being trapped in confined spaces, leads to stress and take a toll on your mental health. Now, the second is social interaction. So, social interaction can also be stressful for some people. For example, strained relationships, pressure from boss, strained romantic relationships, pressure from the partner, pressure from family. These kind of social interactions can also put a lot of strain on our mental health. Now, the third factor is organizational, such as rules and regulations, deadlines, overload. These small things can also put a lot of strain on our mental health. The fourth is major life events. For example, any sudden change in the life. For example, someone's death, or for example, how so many people have lost their jobs during this lockdown, during this pandemic. This also put a lot of strain, a lot of stress on people. Daily hassles, such as commuting to work, not being able to reach your work on time, not being able to meet the deadlines, can also put a lot of strain. Lifestyle choices, such as lack of sleep, not getting proper diet, not getting physical exercise, can also lead to a lot of stress. Mind traps, for example, self criticism, over analyzing every situation, negative self talk, can also put a lot of strain. Personality traits also put a lot of strain on people. For example, people with type A personality, people who call themselves perfectionist, are also prone to stress and anxiety because of the personality traits. So these are some of the factors and anxiety among people. Okay, so why is stress helpful for us? Why it is beneficial for us? So when we feel threatened or stressed or challenged for that matter, our nervous system responds by releasing a lot of stress hormones in our body. So our body prepares for the emergency action. For example, you may experience your heart beating faster. You may experience your blood pressure rises, your muscle tightens, you're quickly breathing, your senses become more sharper. So all these physiological changes that are happening in the body are basically preparing you to face the situation at hand. Increases your stamina, increases your strength, and speed up your reaction time, and preparing you to either fight the situation or flee from the situation. So studies suggest that optimal level of stress is actually beneficial for us. Why it is beneficial? Because it encourages us, it motivates us, and allows us to perform better, to work harder. For example, feeling stressed for your upcoming exam, or maybe for your upcoming job interview. So feeling stress will actually allow you to work harder, to prepare better, to brush up all the concepts, basic concepts. So you'll be able to do better, obviously, in your exam, in your job interview. So optimal level of stress is actually good, but it becomes harmful for us when it reaches a level which is not good for the body. It becomes harmful. So it becomes harmful when your body is exposed to such physiological changes for a long period of time. So it can actually harm your body. It can actually lead to a lot of psychological and physical health issues such as cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, depression, anxiety, acute stress disorder, and many such more. So keeping your stress level in check is very important. So it should be more optimal. It shouldn't exceed the limit, and it should be there to just to motivate us, to encourage us, and not to get harmful for us. So this graph shows how optimal level of stress will actually lead to higher performance, whereas low level of stress will lead to lower performance. And higher level of stress will also lead to low performance. It may also lead to burnout and strain. May put a lot of strain. Yeah, any questions?
Ma'am, we usually take the questions towards the end of the session.
Okay,
So,
I could hear someone.
yeah, there was a disturbance. Really sorry about that.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem.
I request everyone to kindly mute themselves. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the stress management tips. How we can deal with stress. Now we know what stress is. We know what are the symptoms of stress and why it is beneficial, why it is harmful for us. So it's and how to manage it on our own. So first step to understand your stress, to manage your stress, is to understand what your stress is. What your stress is means how do you stress? Because stress can be different for everybody. By understanding what stress looks like for you, you can be better prepared and you can reach for the management toolbox when needed. Now, the second step is to identify your stress resources. So, what causes you to be stressed? Whether it's related to family, whether it's related to work, or any other factor, any relationship, friendship, what is it that is causing you feel stressed out? So this is the second step, to identify the factors which are leading to stress. Now the third step is to recognize stress signals. Why it is important to recognize stress signals? Because everybody and everybody's body reacts to stress signals in a different way. So it's very important that you're aware about your individual stress symptoms. So what are your internal alarm bells? Low tolerance, you may feel constant headaches, you may feel stomach pains, or maybe a combination of the above symptoms. So you need to know these stress signals. So whenever you're feeling in a particular way, you need to understand that it's your body telling you that you need rest, or maybe you're dealing with stress. Recognize your stress strategies. So what is your go-to tactic for calming yourself down? So these can be the behaviors which are learned over years and sometimes aren't the healthy options. For example, some people cope with stress by self-medicating themselves or by engaging in alcohol consumption or maybe overeating. So even though they might calm you down in that particular moment, but it will be harmful for you in the long term. So it's very important that we understand what strategies, what techniques we are using whenever we are stressed out or we are feeling anxious. Now, the fifth step is to implement healthy stress management strategies. So it's good to be mindful of any current unhealthy coping behaviors so you can switch them out for a healthy option. For example, if your current coping behavior is overeating, binge eating, then you can switch it with, let's say, practicing medication, or maybe talking to a friend, or maybe engaging in physical exercise so that you're able to cope with the situation. The American Psychological Association suggests that switching out one behavior at a time is actually most effective in creating positive change. So if let's say you're engaging in three unhealthy behaviors, so instead of changing all of them at once, you can change them one by one because that would be more beneficial, that would be more effective also. Now the sixth step is to make self-care a priority. So when we make time for ourselves, we put our well-beings before others. This can feel selfish to start, but it's like the airplane analogy. We must put our own mask on before we can assist others. So the simplest thing that can promote well-being, such as sleep, food, exercise, talking to a friend, reaching out to people. So these are some of the small things that you can do, small steps you can take in order to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and your stress levels are in check. Now, the last thing that you can do is ask support when needed. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, reaching out to a family or a friend that you trust, or maybe speaking to a mental health care professional, can also reduce stress and anxiety, and it will also help you learn healthier coping strategies. So there is no shame in asking out for help, in reaching out to people. It's actually a very good way to deal with stress and any kind of anxiety. Other things such as getting a proper diet, engaging in exercise, meditation, physical relaxation, and getting a good night's sleep can also put away the strain and a toll that is the stress is taking on your mental health, and will also help you feel relaxed and calm down. So these are the techniques that you can use. Now this activity, which is called door open and door closed, is something which is very interesting, and so I want you guys to fetch your paper and pen. I'll be asking you certain questions and you have to write down the answers. Let me know when you guys are ready. I'll explain the activity.
And I think we can start.
Okay. So you have to make two columns. In the first column, you will write the door that closed on me was. I'll repeat. The door that closed on me was. Now in the second column, you will write the new door that opened for me was. I'll repeat. The new door that opened for me was. So these are the two questions. Okay, so this activity is basically about any situation, any incident that happened, or anything that happened which caused stress or maybe anxiety, and which didn't go according to your plan or according to your will. So, for example, not being able to score good marks, not being able to get the job you wanted. So, these are two examples of the door that closed on me. Now, you have to write the door that opened for me was. For example, that you got another job which was better. So, you have to write the two situations. And if you want to share the answers and get the feedback, you can do so. And once you've written down the situations, you have to answer these three questions. What led to door closing? What helped you open new door? Was it hard or easy for you to realize that there is the other door?
We've written down the answers with us.
Okay.
Do we share them or how does it go? I'm not sure if everyone
You
is
can read them out loud.
Okay. If there is
Tell me.
anyone who would like to just read out the answers loudly, or you can even type in the chat box.
Sure. You can email it to us also. It's not a problem. We'll give you the feedback.
Yes, ma'am. I think that would be better. The students
Yeah.
can email it to you personally.
Great, great.
That would be better.
Okay, so now we'll be talking about increasing productivity. How to make sure that your productivity is not getting low, you're not getting demotivated because of the current situation. So the first step is to set realistic deadlines for yourselves. So what happens is that sometimes we tend to set very hard goals, very unrealistic goals for ourselves, and we're not able to meet them, and then we feel guilty and blame ourselves for the same. So it's very important that we set realistic deadlines, set realistic goals for ourselves. Now, the second step is take a lunch break. Whether you're working from your home, whether you're at your office, it's very important that you take those small breaks, because it's very important. Because once uh, we start working, we tend to forget that that there are other bodily needs as well, that we need to eat, that we need to take breaks. So we just keep on working, and it also puts a lot of strain, not just on our physical body, but also on our mind, on our brain. So it's very important that you take those breaks in between. Take your holiday leave. So, for example, I've seen a lot of people, those who call themselves workaholics, they tend to work uh, throughout the month. They don't take leaves, and they just keep on working. And whether they are at home, whether they are at their office, they are working, working, working. So it may feel good to work, it may feel beneficial at that time, but in the long term it definitely put a lot of strain, and as we have discussed earlier, it will lead to a lot of other issues, whether psychological or physical, such as depression, anxiety, diabetes, etc. So it's very important to take those breaks. Now the fourth is leave work at work. Again, uh, we tend to bring our work at home. We try to do it, we try to finish it off before going to sleep, and we forget a lot of other things that are important in life, such as giving time to your family, giving time to yourself, engaging in self-care, which again leads to a lot of stress. Participate in bound functions, establish open communication, do not tolerate discrimination. If required, seek therapy to develop skills to cope with stressors. Develop a healthy work-life balance, creating time for exercise. Again, as we have discussed, it's important to have open communication, whether you communicate with your friend, whether you communicate with the family or a colleague, or who is close to you that you trust. Because obviously, talking about your issues, talking about your daily problems will make sure that you're not thinking about it too much, and will obviously help you get some solutions, so you'll be able to manage it better. And seeking therapy. So if you think that work is actually putting a lot of strain, it is causing a lot of stress and anxiety, then seeking therapy is actually the best way to deal with stress or any kind of problem that you're facing in life. Okay, so our next activity is called Doodle Your Stress Away. Doodle the first thing that comes to your mind in 10 seconds.
Ma'am, if you could share the email ID in the chat box or on the screen, and the students can mail their answers in a few.
Sure, sure. So the doodle will be related to your personality type and your stress levels, and you can send a picture, send us a picture, and you can get the feedback. But just to give you a rough idea, most of the people draw either flowers, stars, faces, cubes, or houses. That is the most common doodles that people draw. You can share yours, and we will definitely get back to you. Okay, so we talked about stress, we've talked about symptoms of stress, how to manage stress and anxiety on your own. We've also talked about the tips to increase productivity. So, stress can also lead to burnout, and it can also lead to a lot of other psychological disorders. So, for example, if you're stressed out for longer period of time, it may lead to acute stress disorder, it may lead to anxiety, it may also lead to depression. Because what happens is, whenever we are very stressed out, we tend to cut ourselves from other. We tend to forget in engaging in self care activities. We tend to overload ourselves with work or focus on just one thing, which is causing stress or anxiety. So it becomes very difficult to focus on other things to manage self care. And that is what our signal is, that we need to take rest, we need to take a break. We don't want our body to reach a level where it has totally drained out. It hasn't has the resources to manage stress or deal with any kind of problem. So it's very important that we take all the steps that we have just discussed in order to make sure that we are not very much stressed out. So another activity or maybe a technique that you can use whenever you guys are feeling stressed out or anxious is called grounding technique. So what you'll have to do is, if you are having anxiety or stress, so instead of dealing and instead of engaging in unhealthy behaviors such as alcohol consumption, such as taking medications, such as overeating, and people also tend to harm themselves during panic attacks, during anxiety. So if you're having one, instead of engaging in unhealthy behaviors where you might harm yourself or maybe your family members, it is important that you have certain techniques, certain strategies that you can use. So one such activity is called grounding technique. So what you'll have to do is, you have to focus on 5 things that you can see during the panic attack, or maybe during your anxiety, or maybe when you are very much stressed out. So 5 things you can see, 5 things you can touch, and 5 things you can hear. So these are the techniques that are used to calm yourself down. Another activity, another technique is called progressive muscle relaxation. So what you'll have to do is, maybe turn on a video or a soothing music and try to engage in deep breathing exercises, because deep breathing exercises also calms you down. It calms your anxiety, it calms your stress levels. So these are the 2 activities which are very beneficial for people who are dealing with anxiety or stress. So this is another thing that you can do. Okay, so I think we've covered all the topics. If you guys have any question, okay, so let's start with the Q&A.
Sure, ma'am. The students can type in their questions in the chat box
Sure,
if they have any.
sure. I'll answer. Okay, so I've got one question. There are some situations in which we identify stress in someone, but the person might be in denial. How do we deal with that? Okay, so if you have a friend or maybe someone who's dealing with stress or any kind of psychological problem, and the person is in denial, the first step is to be kind, obviously, to that person, to be empathetic, to listen what the person has to say and why the person is not comfortable in reaching out, or maybe why the person is not comfortable in talking about it. So these are the some steps that you can take. And if the person is still not comfortable in reaching out, in dealing with stress, then obviously we can't force someone to reach out, force someone to take help. But we as a person, we as a friend can be there for them. We can help them in their problem. We can help them with certain solutions, but obviously encouraging them to seek help, to seek professional help especially, is the most effective way. So being able to listen to them, being empathetic to them, also telling them how you as an individual is very comfortable with seeking help, or maybe giving them examples how you have dealt with stress in your earlier times, or maybe how you think that seeking help and seeking therapy is good for us. So giving your opinions, giving your personal views, or sharing your personal experiences with them will also encourage them to seek out and seek help. So these are some of the small things that you can do on your part. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so next question is how to avoid burnout resulting from repetitive activities. Find out the pattern, whether you're engaging in just one kind of a very rigid pattern, whether you're doing the same things over and over again. Because what happens is, if we keep on focusing, if we keep on repeating the same things again and again, it does lead to boredom, it does lead to stress and anxiety. So it's very important that you understand what the pattern is and how that pattern is affecting you, affecting your personal life, affecting your mental health. You may try and change the pattern. You may include some new activities. For example, making sure that you have a good schedule, healthy schedule, in which you're also working, but also taking time to take care of yourself by engaging in self-care activities. Some of the activities that we've discussed during the presentation as well. So you can try and make sure that there are different things that you're doing, and the pattern and the schedule is not rigid enough. and that you're doing new things. Something as small as exercising can be beneficial for you. And if it's still causing a lot of stress, if still you're dealing with any kind of problem and you're not able to find solution, then seek professional help, because that would be the best way. Okay, so next question. I've always felt that friends are the ultimate stress busters. What could be a good alternative to meeting and hanging out with friends since we are in the middle of a pandemic? Yeah, it's actually a good way to deal with stress. To hanging out with friends is actually very effective for your mental health. So if you can't meet your friends in person, then maybe you can hang out with them on social media. You can video call them. Apart from that, if you're busy and if you're not able to do that, then again, maybe engaging in some kind of hobby. Instead of focusing and instead of looking at the negative perspective, negative things, we can focus on the positive ones. For example, we've got time to spend with our family that we usually don't get. So we can try and make sure that we are spending time with the family. We're talking to them, we're engaging with them. So this could be an alternative. Apart from that, engaging in some kind of hobby, engaging in something that you wanted to do, maybe a new skill that you wanted to learn, that you were not able to do because of obviously work or studies. So you can do that now, because obviously we can't go out, we can't meet friends, we can only video call them or maybe chat with them. So if you still have time, then you can engage in other activities such as your hobbies, spending time with family, spending time with your pet maybe, because these are also stress busters and will definitely help you deal with stress. Okay, next question. How to deal with sleep problems caused by stress? Okay, so as we have discussed, stress can lead to insomnia. Either you'll not be able to sleep, or you may sleep a lot to ignore your problems, to ignore the situations which are causing you stress. So in order to deal with that, it's very important that you maintain a good sleep hygiene. So what you have to do is make sure that you are engaging in some kind of physical activity. If you can't do more, then just do walk for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or maybe some easy exercises, so that your body is tired. Because if you're not tired, you'll not be able to sleep properly. So this is one thing that you can do. Secondly, make sure that you've turned off all your gadgets, your mobile, your laptop, at least 1 hour before you go to sleep. Now the third step is to make a proper schedule for yourself. Decide the time. For example, if let's say you want to go to sleep at 11 at night, then you must turn off everything at 10, your gadgets, your mobile phone, your laptop. And once you're lying down on your bed, there is no need to use any kind of gadget, because it also disrupts your with your sleep quality. Now the third is to have calming environment. So you can, if you want to switch on the light, you can, but but light switch off actually leads to good sleep quality. So this is something that you can do. Also make sure that you wake up at the same time every day. So maintaining these small things and maintaining a good sleep hygiene will lead to will also help you deal with problems that stress is causing you, sleep problems specifically. how do we identify when our stress is reaching unhealthy levels? This is actually a good question. Optimal level of stress is actually different for everybody. So now how to identify what my healthy level of stress is? So how we can do that? So understand first of all whether the stress is whether your work, whether your studies has started to interrupt with your daily lifestyle. If it has started to to deal with your daily lifestyle, if you're not able to, let's say, sleep properly, if you're not able to work, if you're not able to focus on your studies, then this is a sign that your stress is causing disruptions in other areas as well. So this is actually a sign that the stress is becoming unhealthy. So now something needs to be done in order to deal with it. So whenever something start to deal with to distract or disrupt with our daily life routine, it shows that there is something that is not going well or something which is becoming unhealthy for us. So we need to do something about it. So this is a sign. And if you think that any work or studies is actually causing you stress and is actually disrupting with other areas of your life, then you need to take a step to deal with your stress. So next question. Seeking professional help is still seen as a taboo. How do we ensure that a healthy environment is created when someone wishes to seek mental health? Okay, as we have discussed earlier as well, that if there is someone who is dealing with any kind of issue and you as an individual know that the person is dealing with issue, but the person is not ready to seek help or maybe is in denial, then the first step that you have to take is to make sure that you understand and you listen to that person, whatever the person has to say, whatever the person is facing. If possible, you can also give some solutions. If you think that the problem is very extreme or intense, or maybe you don't know of, then obviously you can um, encourage the person to seek professional help, to seek mental help. Usually what happens is whenever people are not comfortable in taking help, they usually get motivated when someone, whether it's their friend, whether it's a family member, when they tell them how they have also experienced the same thing and they have got good help, so they get an idea about it from their family members or from their friends. So maybe you can help them get in touch with someone who who has dealt with the same problems, and who were able to seek help, who were able to resolve their problems. So this is another way of making sure that the person seek help. So the gist is that you have to make the person realize that there is nothing wrong in seeking help, and that is just a problem, just like any physical problem. Just like you go to a doctor when you have fever, in the same way you're supposed to see a professional, mental health professional, whenever you're feeling stressed out, anxious, or any kind of psychological issue. Okay, so next question is, many a times people suffer from high depression, but they ignore it, assuming it's normal. My question is, how can one identify the point at which one needs to go for professional help? Hmm. Okay, so firstly, it's important to identify the symptoms of depression. So, for example, you're feeling less motivated. You don't feel like doing anything. There is no physical energy. You're feeling lethargic. You're feeling sad, even though there is no reason to feel sad about. Or maybe there is, but you're feeling extremely sad. And you're not able to sleep properly. You're not able to sleep properly. You're not able to eat properly. Not able to move much. You don't feel like talking to anyone. And if you have disconnected yourself from people because you just don't want to face people, because you know that it will be difficult for you. So these are the small things that we do in our daily life and we don't realize it. For example, getting up from bed, taking a bath, maintaining personal hygiene, talking to friends. These are the small things that we're doing on a daily basis, and we don't treat them as something very extraordinary. But when you have depression, or when you have anxiety, or maybe when it has reached a certain level where you need to seek help, these daily life routines, these small things that you were able to do earlier at very easily, you're not able to do them. So that is a sign which shows that your depression or your anxiety has reached a certain level and that you need certain kind of help, whether talking to a friend, whether talking to a family member, or a therapist. Okay, next question. How to deal with a major setback in life and move forward. Okay, just like the activity we did. So the goal is to not remove stress from our lives altogether, because that is very unrealistic. That is not going to happen. Stress will be there, and setbacks are going to be there for sure. And we will be facing a lot of failures as well in our life, because that is a part of life, that is a normal part of life. So it's not the goal to make sure that the stress is not there, or that we should remove the stress from our life. That is not the goal. The goal is to be able to deal with it. So for example, whenever you're dealing with any setback, so just like we did in the activity, so there may be a time when you feel that the door closed on me, but at that time you'll have to motivate yourself. You'll have to tell yourself that maybe eventually there might be something which will be better for you, or maybe you were not able to get that particular thing, or maybe you were not able to get that particular job or college, because maybe there is a better opportunity waiting for you. So motivating yourself is actually a very good way to deal with setbacks, to deal with negativity in life. Because again, because there will be failures, there will be setbacks, there will be a lot of things which might not go as we want. So in order to deal with it, it's very important that we try and wait and motivate ourselves, keep working hard, and maybe wait for the better opportunity. So this is something that you can do to motivate yourself. You can also take help from your friends, maybe talk to them about it, or maybe look for an alternative option as to what you can do. So these are some of the small things that we can do. Okay, so yeah. Any other questions?
Ma'am, there are two more questions in the chat box.
Okay, wait. How can one manage work life, especially when can have financial problems to family? Okay, so can you read this question for me? I can't.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, it's not
The
visible.
question is, how can one manage work life, especially not bringing it home, if one has many financial responsibilities towards family?
Hmm. And the next question is there any criteria to choose a good stress management professional? Okay. Okay, so as we have discussed, maintaining work-life balance is very important. So even though you have a lot of responsibilities, even though a lot of expectations are there from you, from your regarding your family members, so it's very important to know that maintaining a good schedule, maintaining a balance is very important, because ultimately you are the one who is going to take the responsibility of a family, or maybe going to take the responsibility of your siblings, whatever. So it's very important that you are mentally and physically healthy, because if you'll keep on working, if you'll keep on putting strain on yourself, on your mental health, on your physical health, then obviously you'll become, at one point you'll not be able to deal with it again, as we've discussed in the presentation, that you'll reach a point where your body will no longer be able to take more stress. So we don't want to reach that point. So in order to make sure that you don't reach that point, it's very important that you're following a work life balance, that you are working for sure, but you're also engaging in other activities. Also, if you're facing any kind of problem, if you think that the responsibilities are getting too much for you, if you're not able to deal with it on your own, then obviously communicating it with your family members, taking help, allowing them to help you will also be very beneficial. And seeking therapy. Why it is important? Because even though there are family responsibilities, even though there's a lot of workload, and even though you don't feel like talking about it with your family, then you can have someone where you can go and express your feelings, express your problems, and you can get solutions for it. So that is also a way that during which you'll be able to deal with the problem at hand. You'll be able to manage your stress. Is there any criteria to choose a good stress management professional? Okay, so you can look for a clinical psychologist or a counseling psychologist uh, who has experience in dealing with problems related to stress or anxiety, because usually they are able to handle such cases. You can also see a psychiatrist if you think that you're dealing with a lot of physical symptoms. For example, not being able to sleep properly, not being able to eat, not being able to maintain personal hygiene, low motivation, lethargic. So all these symptoms are there. If you think that you're dealing with all these symptoms and you're not able to do anything, then you can meet a psychiatrist as well. And if the psychiatrist think that you need medicines, then they might prescribe you medicine for the same. And if they think that the problem is not intense and that a counselor will be able to help you, then they will refer you to a good psychologist or a counselor.
Thank you for answering those questions, ma'am. I think we've
Thank
come
you.
towards the end of the question answers round.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an informative session. The
thank
session
you.
gave us a lot of clarity regarding the types, symptoms, benefits, and the extent to which stress and anxiety is prevalent among all of us. The various exercises that we had in the session, your tips and suggestions to weight mental disturbances are sure to be helpful to the audience, especially during these unprecedented times. And we also thank our dear alums, Sakshi and Lawrence, for giving us this opportunity to collaborate with Good Lives to organize this session. We wish the team very best for the future endeavors on behalf of VG Som fraternity. We also thank our alums who took out time to join us today for this session. And once again, thank you so much, Ariba ma'am, for taking out time to deliver such a wonderful interaction with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was great to have you over.